Today we are front porching with Gina Maio. Gina, tell me in just a couple seconds who you are.
I'm the head of school for Churchill Academy.
That's really good. So
I'm also a mother. What else do you want to know?
No, that's good. Well, what is Churchill Academy?
We're a high school for 9th through 12th grade students who live in the East End of Richmond. And all our students want to achieve the 3 goals that we've laid out for them. One is academics, to achieve academic success. So they move from where they come to us forward. And they come at varying levels of ability. Second goal is character development. Our students are willing to be self-aware, to develop their self-awareness, to face any past issues, to deal with those, and to move forward, and to exhibit self-control. The last thing is community. We're here to serve each other, CHAT staff, the East End community. All our students are not Christians. We don't expect them all to become Christians. We do follow, though, as a community, Mark 10:45, which is Christ came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So that's kind of a foundation.
That's good. Now, if somebody heard about Churchill Academy, I think one question that they would have right from the start is, why does something like Churchill Academy need to exist? Why isn't the public school system enough?
First of all, there are a lot of students that achieve great success in public school. I'm a product of public school, believe in it. But for some students now, an alternative setting works best for them. Smaller classes, a Christian faith-based environment. Some of our students are right at grade level or above. Some are so far behind that sometimes when you get to high school, you drop out. You give up. Sometimes you give up and drop out for other reasons that don't have to do with academics. Why would they choose us? Because we are going to continue to practice grace, be firm in our rules, and also practice and embody grace and forgiveness. But there comes a point, tough love is embodied, and we're very clear about that. And then they can either stick with us and play by our rules or leave.
I've heard a lot of people throw around the term broken school systems. And I feel like a lot of times somebody will say that and not really know exactly what they're saying. So as someone who has been a part of school systems for a while, what would you say about it? Do you feel like, Richmond Public Schools, for example, is a broken school system?
We live in an imperfect, broken world. No school system is perfect. None. Not McLean High School in Fairfax County, where I taught. Not the city of Richmond, where my children have gone to public schools. We're not perfect. Just because a student comes to Churchill Academy doesn't mean everything's going to work out great and that this is the best place for them. So when people say broken, I often use the example of people want education to be like buying a car. I want it to look good on the outside. I want to drive and get a test ride. It's going to be like I'm buying a Mercedes. I don't want to buy this cheaper car. And in reality, so much is beyond your control. Who's in the class with your kids, the teachers that happen to work that year, the overall ethos, what people are going through. I like to think, instead of saying it's broken, that this is an alternative for those students where it's not working in public school. I refuse to cast blame.
Yeah.
Just don't go there. I don't think it's correct.
What are some of the reasons you feel like it doesn't work at times?
Large classes. Here, we can talk about character development. We can talk about facing past issues. We can talk about what's gone on in your life. And it's a small enough environment where that's part of who we are. Public school doesn't have the time or energy to go there. But if you haven't dealt with your past, it's hard to envision a future. And unfortunately, poverty has many issues and many things that people have to deal with.
It sounds like you're saying sometimes there could be deep-rooted things that come into the classroom. How is it that your teachers find themselves more equipped to engage that than maybe other teachers in other schools?
Well, one, we're free of all kinds of bureaucracy, which is good and bad. It's bad because as head of school, that means there has to be some kind of framework. It's good in that a teacher can really go there and meet with parents, and there's a lot of freedom. Private schools offer that. But again, I'm a strong public school supporter. So it's a different way of viewing education. We can have a different setup. Smaller classes offer you more of the ability, and without testing. We do test, but not the same standards of learning, pass-fail. We test to diagnostically see where a student is in comparison, not whether they pass or fail. Mm-hmm. And that allows kind of like a doctor to go in and say, well, you're not a fast runner, but you're really good at this, and we're gonna, that's what we're allowed to do. But all students have to meet certain standards, and we're gonna be really honest with them. Versus they have to all be at the same level. We can allow students to progress based more on what their abilities are. It's hard to define.
Yeah.
Education is complicated.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I feel like when people say that a school system is broken and they just leave it at that, that is not a sufficient enough answer.
To me, when you use the word broken, it's like you diminish my students and their families. My students are brave, they're courageous, they're smart, they can get things done. Unfortunately, what they understand and the world around them sometimes limits them. Mm-hmm. Lack of transportation access, lack of awareness of just what goes on. White privilege, being white, it's been something I've been forced to face. Doors are open to me just because of who I know and where I live. So brokenness is so hard because good things do go on in Richmond Public Schools.
What are some of the good things you've seen?
I've seen students who go on to college. I've seen students that take rigorous classes in public high schools and go on to do great things. I've met teachers who are incredibly dedicated and incredibly organized, and I've hired some of them to work here when they want to change. There's just all kinds of things, but it takes facing and being really honest about where we're trying to go and where we are, and that's hard.
If somebody did try to say, let me put it this way, I've seen a lot of comment threads where it says the teachers in Richmond Public Schools are horrible if we just change the teachers, or the administration is horrible, or the school building if we just made a new school building, and there's a lot of unproductive conversation. What would your advice be to somebody in the community that cares, that wants to see change in the school system? What would you say to them?
I think it has to be quantitative. Change is slow. If it were easy to fix, everyone would have found a solution and fixed it. Throwing more money at a problem doesn't always help, but money is a good thing. I think there's more than one factor, and I think the factors change, and I think honesty and grace, we live in a broken world, so I don't want to excuse the fact that things aren't going well. But if I had a lot of great solutions, I'd probably be in a different position. I know for us here, it's trying to lay out in writing exactly what we expect, doing the best job we can to help students achieve it. And then I have the pleasure that public school doesn't of saying to a student, this isn't a good fit. Mm-hmm. You're not achieving my standards, our standards. Mm-hmm. You need to leave. And it's not expelling. It's just, this is not a good fit. Public school doesn't have that. So, there's, I think also trying to find a way to capture a student's interest, to figure out what inspires the student to learn, what causes them to face failure day after day and continue to get up there and figure out math and figure out geometry. And that's something that we're trying to do here is reframe it. I don't know if that makes any sense, because it's,
It's a big issue.
It's a huge issue, and I know what I can do in my microcosm. I haven't spent a great deal of time other than keeping my kids and trying to be active in our own public schools with public schools. Mm-hmm. I have plenty of problems myself. Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to hear more about your average neighbor who isn't going to make any big major impacts financially mm-hmm. or structurally. Just your average neighbor. What can they do to positively impact the schools in their area or the youth in their area?
One, get to know who's around you. Talk to your neighbors, talk to the students, engage in conversation. Attending school board meetings, attending meetings, my husband makes me watch the city council and the school board meetings, hear what people are saying. He talks back to the television. He has written letters on occasion. I've spoken before the school board. just, years ago, but just when you feel really passionate about things. Also, I think understanding that it takes a community, it takes a group of people really walking alongside, and that it won't be perfect. And accepting responsibility. It's a tough issue. It's not going away. And we all of us have to accept some responsibility for the brokenness and to be willing to be in some small way part of the change.
And with it being long term, it really points out the importance of what you guys do in utilizing relationship. How does what does that look like on any given day in this building?
Well, it can be as simple as, a student shared with me today poetry that she had written just because. And I questioned, one, are you supposed to be writing this? Is this an assignment to kind of figure out if she was just, not in class and just like dropping by my office because she really didn't want to go to class? But no, she was doing what we call resource class, which is like a study hall, and it just felt inspired to write, and then engaging her with why she would write that and where she saw herself in the story. That's relationship. I also think relationship is me being really honest when I see what a student's doing, and sometimes it means telling them this isn't a good place. It isn't a good fit. That's being in relationship, even though it's breaking off relationship for a time. It's holding a student accountable and making sure all along that I'm giving them opportunities to succeed, but also letting them know if they don't exceed what the repercussions are.
And for someone who could hear that and just think, oh, you're just kicking them out, what makes that love?
Because if not, it's enabling. If you demean a staff person to their face and then say, no, I didn't say that. So either the staff person's lying or you're lying. What am I supposed to do with that? I mean, I have found if a student, and this is the hardest thing, if they're willing to say, yes, I made a mistake, we can work. Because I make plenty of mistakes. The staff make mistakes. I've had staff apologize. But you got to be willing to go and truly mean it and then mean to change. Yes, I did this and I shouldn't have done it, Ms. G. Okay, we can work with that. Denial that you did anything wrong, I can't work with that. And that's enabling. That's saying the rest of your life you can keep saying I didn't do anything wrong. And that takes you nowhere fast.
That's really what genuine relationship is, right? Like it's not just one person, but both people willing into it. And do you see the students as they get to know that you guys care about them and that they can trust you? How do you see them living into their role of relationship?
I think it's feeling comfortable. Last week, a student, we've had problems with basketball. We're in this great facility and one gym, which also is the chapel area, which also is where we eat lunch. And so kids will start wanting to play basketball when we're all sitting down to eat lunch. So we make them wait till 11:45 before they start bouncing the basketballs. And this kid wanted to play earlier in the day, and he went to Mr. Long, I was gone, and said, hey, we got chapel, we got to set up for chapel, which is going to limit when we can play basketball today. Could we start playing basketball at 11:35? And when 11:50 hits, we will help set up chairs and we'll put the balls away. And we've already stated no basketball at 11:45, and on Fridays there's only 5 minutes. But he came to him, and the principal Skip Long was like, well, yeah, that sounds fine to me, because he did it in such a manner. He thought it through. He didn't come in demanding, and I just talked to the student before coming here, and I said, that is great. The little things like that are so insignificant really in reality are huge. How you state yourself and how you make demands. You can do them in love, or you can do them hatefully, or you can do them thought-provoking. And we got the sense that if Mr. Long had said no, and here's why, the kid would have been okay with it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just one small, teachers will give you grades that you don't like. Always. It's very hard to make straight A's all the time. So what do you do when you're faced with failure? School is hard. There's that F right there. Do you look internally a little? You have to. But do you also maybe look internally and go, I really didn't understand this, and sit down with the teacher and try and figure it out and involve them? And that's life. That's a great skill. And why is it so hard?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard for me.
Well, Let me ask this, for those that like to pray, how can they be praying not for broken school systems?
Right.
How can they be praying for the challenging realm that education is?
If you know a student, pray for the specific student, that they have wisdom and courage. If you know a teacher, pray for a specific teacher. Ask them what they need. If you're looking in general as you drive by a school, pray for the school. Prayer never hurts. And then if you're called to be more involved in that, because everyone should not be involved in school. There are a lot of callings that are not listed specifically in the Bible, but one that is specifically listed over and over is if you're called to teach, then teach. I mean, it's fascinating. Paul mentions it a great deal. So I think if you're called to teach, then teach. And if you're not called, then pray for teachers. So there we go.
And imagine in all that being ready for the long game, because this isn't a quick fix.
You have to be humbly self-confident. I have to recognize as the head of school that I am not dumb. I've gone to school, I have some things I could hang on the walls. On the other hand, I'm a complete idiot. I mean, I don't understand somebody else's life. The only life I truly understand kind of is my own, if I'm willing to look at that completely. So I have to hold in balance the fact that I do have something to share, and yet I don't understand students' lives. And holding those two, being humbly self-confident, sharing love, speaking calmly, speaking in peace, but yet also speaking, I have told you multiple times, we've had multiple meetings, and now you can't be with us anymore. Go in peace, go in grace, but this ends. Your behavior's not changing. But I can do it hatefully, dishonestly, or I could do it calmly and honestly.
Yeah. Is there anything else you feel like people should know or that you want to share?
No, I mean, if I had any solutions, I'd be running for office, don't you think? Instead, I just get up every morning and thank God, give me wisdom and give me strength, and send people to criticize me. And when they criticize, I now realized you need to get a couple other people to confirm it or not, and you just kind of test that out with other people. But God is good, and you do the best you can. And then you go to sleep, and you get up the next day and you do it again.
Yep.
This side of heaven, nothing will be perfect. And only Jesus saves.
There it is. Amen. Well, Gina, thank you so much for taking the time to share.
My
and also
pleasure.
just thank you for what you do, because it is not an easy job. There are many days where it might not seem like a fruitful job.
I've decided I don't know that I'm meant to see the fruits of my effort.
That's biblical.
It's biblical. And I was talking with my dad, and he really credits someone who's long gone with influencing him and what he does today. My dad's 79. So I really think that the fruits of our efforts, I don't know that we'll truly see the benefits of those, and we're not meant to. Again, it keeps us humble.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
Which is, for me, a particularly good thing.
Well, thank you again.
What you really know about freedom? What you really know about burdens being lifted? Take a little moment just to breathe in. Open up your ears and allow your heart to listen to the whisper that carries through the ages.